All right, ladies and gents, so what we are going to be doing today is creating a light sensitive emulsion or liquid made from good old turmeric and 99% rubbing alcohol. These are our two main ingredients for this process. Welcome to my kitchen. It's probably the only space that have the lighting and room to do this, but let's go ahead and get things started. So these are main things that you're gonna need. Watercolor paper, taped down a little bit, some nice clean edges hopefully. You're gonna need some plastic cups, coffee filter, your two main ingredients, and some good lighting, because who doesn't need that? So I'm gonna go ahead and my good old video cut me off, which I think is kind of rude, but that's okay. What I did at the cutoff, I put turmeric and rubbing alcohol to create this lovely mixture. It is a strong yellow dye that happens to be photosensitive. So I'm gonna move this out of the way because I don't want to stain it just yet. So what we are doing right now is we're getting ground turmeric and rubbing alcohol to go ahead and make our mixture in here. Right now, there's a lot of turmeric that's settling. It's a little bit kind of grainy, but what we're gonna do is filter it and kind of get just the liquid part. We only need that anyways. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it. That is a good. So what we're going to be doing is straining our mixture. Currently it's doing that right now, of turmeric and rubbing alcohol. It is going to give me a good chunk, and I need that to have enough to coat 3 papers. So that's what we're shooting for today. We're hoping that we're going to get enough. So I'm going to let this coffee filter do its thing. It's going to take some time. I don't want to force it either, so I'm going to gently squeeze. I don't want it to overflow. I feel like I might kind of milking a cow right now. I know, don't get me wrong, I'm from Texas, never done that. But this is gonna give us enough dye to work with, and it's gonna be great. So once we get this reminder, just as rubbing alcohol and turmeric, there is no particular measurement. Just as a reminder, the more alcohol you put into it, or any dilutant, they have mentioned vodka, and I don't drink, so that's not gonna happen here. So I'm putting good old rubbing alcohol. It's something I have, because that's the first aid kit that I carry with me. I've always got rubbing alcohol. That's just a safe method. So right now I think I have strained enough to coat 3 papers, which probably even more. But I have squeezed what I could off of this. I'm gonna get my other cup back in the shot. Dump that. I'm gonna have to clean a little bit, and that's no problem. I will come back just really quickly and show you how I coat this, and we'll go from there. So we are back. I am gonna go ahead. I have my light sensitive solution. It does not really, it looks like someone's really dehydrated. But I am gonna go ahead and kind of coat my watercolor paper with this with a foam brush, because we want a nice clean application of this material. And what I'm going to do immediately afterwards is I'm going to go ahead and kind of put it in a dark area. I don't want to expose it to really much any light. This light is okay if I'm doing it really quickly, but I do not want to leave it out in daylight, because that starts the exposure process. So my mixture of rubbing alcohol once again and turmeric is being painted on there. It leaves a vibrant and beautiful yellow, but I did a test run with this. It doesn't stay yellow. We actually put a bit of borax to it to go ahead and kind of stop the exposure, which I think is really a cool thing to see. And you'll see a bit of that in my video as near the end, so that you can kind of see what actually happens with this. I think it's pretty darn fun. So I have coated this guy to my liking, and there you go. I'm gonna go ahead and do that with my other two papers, and then kind of call it a day, let them dry and do what they need to. All right, welcome back. I have kind of given you a walkthrough of what I did just a little bit with my paper, and this has rubbing alcohol and turmeric. Now what I'm going to do is show you just really quickly the sandwich that I'm going to make, and hopefully I can get a result. So I am going to use kind of like some cardboard backing as the back part. Obviously it's backing. I'm going to use this as the back part to kind of just keep things a little stable. So I have that going down first. Next thing I have, I'm going to expose it in the sun, and they say that having black underneath it can cause some problems, and we don't want problems because it can cause it to heat up unnecessarily. And I think that's more so for the leaf one with the chlorophyll prints, but we're not going to take any chances here, are we? The next thing I've got that I'm going to sandwich in is my paper that I have that liquid solution in. Next thing I've got, and my print is quite sticky. It's a little odd. Let me get some back part to it so you can see it just a bit. This is an old photo I took, and I'm gonna leave the ink part on top of it, and I'll show you guys the sandwich that I'm gonna get from it, just so you can kind of see how it's layered on top. But I don't want the ink touching the paper, so and I don't want it touching my glass. I'm also going to use a little bit of plexiglass on top just to secure it a bit more, and my good old dollar store cheap glass. So currently that's what I've got going on right there. I'm going to sandwich it all together, and fingers crossed we get something. In order to kind of keep a tight seal on it, we are going to get a bit of the clamps on there. We need we want a close connection to it. So I'm going to go ahead and clamp every edge that I possibly can, and pray to the art gods that this works. I've seen it. I've seen other people do it. I just want to be able to do it myself. So we've got things clamped on there just to try to get it as tight as we can. Like, that's not going to hurt anyone to get it as tight as we possibly can. How can that hurt? So I've got this. I've got backing. I've got white paper. I've got my exposed paper, or my emulsion paper. I've got some good old glass on top of it, and we're gonna see what happens tomorrow. I'm gonna do it out in the sun right now. I'm recording at nighttime, so there's no sun to do this, but in the morning we'll have some UV rays that we can work with to go ahead and try to expose this picture. I will show you what happens afterwards. As of right now, I gotta do some cleanup, so stay tuned. I'm gonna go ahead and show you that next part as soon as the morning comes. Alright, so I went ahead and did my first actual print for my Anthotype print. It is an image on top, so it was baking out and the sun finally came out, so that was some good news. I left it out for roughly about 3.5 hours because the sun really came in pretty good near the end. So I, if I'm not mistaken, should have an image here, which you guys will get to see in just a tiny bit. I have an image there. Let's see how it comes out, you guys. So what we need to do, because this is good and all, but I do want it to come out a little bit more, and that requires the use of some borax. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my measuring cup and roughly about 2 spoonfuls of borax. Actually, I'm gonna do 3. I think I had done 3 the last time and that worked out really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And some water. And just mix this really quickly. I would use a spoon, a plastic spoon, just so that you can kind of get rid of it afterwards, because you don't feel like you'll need it, but you never know. Especially when you're mixing stuff, I wouldn't want this. So, now that I've got my borax and water mixed, we're going to go ahead and kind of stop the exposure that we've got going on here. So, let's see if we kind of put a light amount of it on there and then kind of slosh it around. And what the borax is going to do is it's going to go in there and darken things up for me. As you guys can see, there's an image there. It's not. Let's see if I can throw some more borax. On top. And that's what we've got. We have an image. It is there. And to kind of completely stop that process, I'm going to go ahead and rinse this fella out in some good old cold water. So it will take some time to dry up, but we've got a print there.